Hey everyone, Tony D and Little Joan here with a final debate wrap up. Um, so, a lot of people are talking about the debate, the fallout from the debate, and they're giving Trump various scores. The guys who seem to be more gung ho for Trump, of course, are giving him wildly high scores, like H.A. Goodman. H.A. Goodman just loves Trump. He kind of rose colored glasses, let's be honest. Um, on the other hand, you've got people who are saying, well, Trump won, but it was sort of a marginal victory. Guys like Jeremy at the quartering, uh, Tim Pool, it's sort of like, yeah, he won, but it was kind of almost a Pyrrhic victory. Sticks and Hammer even thinks, yeah, he pretty much stomped him, but, um, anything that Biden did, where Biden didn't just completely soil his own britches and fall over, is kind of a win for him. Sargon of Akkad definitely gave it to Trump. I would give it to Trump, um, but winning the debate really wasn't an issue for Trump, as nearly as I can see. Right, Joan? Okay. You see, you barked too early. Because it was a given. Trump was going to win, right? I mean, there's no way slow, creepy Joe was even going to have the energy to keep up with Trump. He just looked mentally exhausted by the end of the whole thing, right? I also thought his eyes look weird. Like you can see my eyes in this video if I open up big, right? You can see whites in the eyes. I couldn't see the whites in Biden's eyes. It looked like his eyes were so big they were just all black. And that to me indicates that maybe he was on a lot of drugs to keep him focused and calm, and maybe his pupils got dilated. I don't know. I would have been interested to see a drug test with Biden, but he was sort of barely hanging on. He didn't do anything too gaffy. He had a couple of gaffes. One almost turned into a major gaffe, but it it wasn't too bad. Like I thought Trump had him when he said Biden said one of your own people said blah blah blah, and he said, and Trump was like, who, and Biden, he countered well. He was like, well, I forget who it was. I think it was Kellyanne Conway. Whether or not he had an earpiece, yeah, he probably did. I mean, I think definitely if Biden wasn't going to have the ear inspection, then yeah, he probably had an earpiece. That's why he wouldn't have the ear inspection. Although there's a chance Biden just wears a regular hearing aid and needs it, and said, well, we can't have the ear inspection because he'll see the hearing aid and go, well, you're doing something with the hearing aid, or you're doing something with that, and if you go, well, it's just a hearing aid, like you're not going to be able to approve that. Maybe. I think though Biden was probably being fed the answers. Now I think that's one of the reasons Trump bombarded him and kept interrupting him. He was trying to throw Biden off his game so he would just answer something before he had a chance to get the right answer in his head. But I think there was a bigger strategy employed by Trump in that he is a showman. And as I've always said, as a screenwriter, movies, usually TV shows, come in 3 acts. You see how I tied it all in? And this is Act 1, the first debate. And what do you get in Act 1? Well, you get the characters and you get the problem. That's the main piece of information you get in the first act. And you get sort of, the problem starts to get worse. So Trump stated the problems pretty clearly. It's corrupt Biden. It's a radical left that's out of control that he can't possibly even address. And it's the fake accusations against him. Now, what the media is focusing on again is Donald Trump's a racist. Donald Trump's not a racist. the idea that he has to keep denying it. It's sort of like the old game of, sir, will you, do you beat your wife in the morning or at night? Or, just to ask these outrageous questions just to get your opponent to deny it. And then you can analyze the denial as whether it's enough or, it's not heartfelt enough or whatever. That's part of the reason he won't play the game in that context. He doesn't have any control, right? So, Chris Wallace, I know, see, Joan agrees. Chris Wallace tries to lead you down the path. I mean, that's what journalists who pursue narratives tend to do. So, if Trump had answered, let's imagine Trump answered the question. A lot of YouTubers say he should have just answered the question. Well, yes and no, because this is the way it would go if Trump wasn't totally scatterbrained. It would go something like Chris Wallace has said, "Sir, will you denounce white supremacy and the KKK?" And he adds the Proud Boys. And see, that's where the first problem comes in, because he's basically forcing Trump to throw the Proud Boys under the bus. The Proud Boys aren't racist, by the way. I don't know if you know anything about the Proud Boys. They are a right-wing organization. They are nationalist, but they have black guys and Latino guys and Asian guys in their ranks. In fact, the leader is he's half Cuban and half African American, I believe. And so, to call them a white nationalist movement is just totally wrong and such a smear. And why should Trump throw them under the bus? They're a national organization that supports him. Now, they don't have a totally pristine record. They've gotten into some trouble, but nothing like, say, Antifa or, any of the racist organizations. These guys are just a right-wing organization. And the media exaggerates their politics, of course, because they're so far on the left. Anybody to the right of Fidel Castro is fair game. So, Trump was in a position. He can't throw his own supporters under the bus, not guys who aren't racist, who are essentially just an organization. That would have looked... Now, I think the Proud Boys support him so much, they probably would have went, well, he had to do that. But, he didn't throw him under the bus. It shows a certain amount of loyalty on Trump's part towards people who support him. Which is a consistent theme in his world, whatever. But, let's just say Wallace worded the question so he could answer it. Like, do you disavow white supremacy and the KKK? Or that Trump just ignored how he framed the question and said, of course I disavow white supremacy and the KKK and racism and blah, blah, blah. Then that gives Wallace the opening to follow up. Well, then, if you disavow that, then why did you say this? And why did you say that? And why did you do this? Why did you put children in cages? And why did you do this and that? And it unfortunately, Wallace wasn't going to follow up pretty much on anything that Biden said, but he'd be happy to follow up against Trump because I thought he was kind of in the bag for Biden. I mean, he took a bunch of bullets for him. He put Biden, Biden was teetering over, and like Wallace would kind of reach out and go, "Oh, let me get you back up there. Okay, all right, go ahead." And he did that several times. Now, he did go after Biden like one or two times, but I think he wanted to be sure Biden was ready for the question. Part of Wallace's deal, even though he's from Fox, he also wants to look like he did a good moderating job. So he would naturally tend to go, well, I better treat Biden with kid gloves or else everybody's going to say I'm biased, which again is like they were going to say that anyway. Just like they were going to say Trump's a racist a-hole, regardless, of what he said during the debate. So Trump, sidestep it and did his old mumbly thing where he's just ranting and raving and jumping from one thing to the next. Sargon had a great take on this, which is that, Trump is blustery and but he's basically telling the truth. Where Trump lies is on the tiny details. right? So he says, we're going to build a wall. Mexico's going to pay for it. And he builds a wall, and Mexico doesn't really pay for it. They send their soldiers to guard the border, which is a sort of payment. But, again, he knew Mexico wasn't going to, just start forking over. First off, they don't even have any money. We give them money. So he knew that was going to happen. So consequently, he, exaggerates the small details. Whereas, in contrast, Biden gets the small details right, but he lies about the big things. So, Biden threw out the suckers and losers quote from the Atlantic, which is obviously made up in my view. And if it's not made up, it's certainly been denied by several major figures, including John Bolton in the Trump administration. And John Bolton is no friend of Donald Trump. Come on. So, and there were a lot of things that Biden threw out. They were just straight up lies. Just straight up lies. Because Biden's counting on, right, Joe. Biden is counting on the mainstream media's take on Trump, which is everything he says is a lie. Therefore, I could just call him out on anything and say it's a lie because who are they going to believe? You're going to believe me or you're going to believe Donald J. Trump, the liar? The problem is he, of course, like everybody on the left side, has grossly overestimated, Joan, the impact of the mainstream or legacy media, whatever you want to call it. Basically TV and newspapers, the media giants, if you will. Tim Pool was pointing out on his videos that, if you add up all the guys who were live streaming this and, pundits talking about it on YouTube, it crushes the viewership of something like a CNN or an MSNBC, especially on YouTube. And they are propped up by YouTube. So no one's really listening to them. No, I mean, the people who are listening to them are stuck in the old paradigm. They tend to be older. They're used to this idea of newspapers and television being the source of information. They haven't transitioned to the internet. They might understand what it is, kinda, but they're not in that world. So if you're not in the world of the internet, you're now in the minority of people who are being lied to, which I think explains why Trump has had a bit of a drop-off in his support from older Americans, a little bit. Now, it could be that Biden's scare tactic of Donald Trump's going to get rid of Social Security, which they say every friggin' election about Republicans, is working. But I kind of doubt it. Older people tend to be wise to that stuff, and I can't imagine I can't imagine they're going to say, oh, that political commercial's accurate. But overall, I would say that Trump won the debate, but that wasn't his goal. His goal was to get out information. And he was perfectly fine with getting out information about the Proud Boys. Why not? Nobody knows who the hell they are. The media has been calling them white supremacists for months and months, if not years. Now people are going to Google them and go, wait a minute. These people aren't white supremacists. I mean, they're right wing, but they're not white supremacists. Why did all the media outlets call them white supremacists? Easy, Joan. I'm almost done. That makes them question things. That's why Trump went through all the Biden scandals he could, especially the Moscow money. That's the latest one. I'm a little disappointed he didn't mention Project Veritas and the things going on in Minnesota. But I thought about it and I figure, well, maybe he hasn't confirmed it. Even though Project Veritas does have pretty damning evidence, maybe he's kind of waiting for his guys in the FBI to kind of go out there and assess it. Or maybe he's waiting for arrest. Who knows what's going on? Maybe he didn't want to draw attention to it because there's already an FBI investigation. See, that's the sneaky thing about the FBI. When they're investigating people, a lot of times you don't know until it's too late, until indictments come down and people are going to court and it's like, oh my God, they were investigating us the whole time. They're very sneaky. So There's that. But yeah, I would give it to Trump simply because he just came out and stomped on Biden. Biden, whatever you think of Biden and Trump, you have to imagine that if Biden gotten into a room with the leader of China or Putin and they acted like Trump, what do you think the end result would be on a trade deal or a peace deal? I think the other country would get the better of Biden because they would just keep interrupting him and he would go, whoa, what? So, just that alone showed that Trump he's just more together. He's stronger. He can withstand all this pressure. He thrives under it. Biden kind of just barely hangs on by his fingernails and hopes he gets through. And he looks old. He looks tired. There's tons of footage of Biden back in the day where he looks much more younger and energetic and he's more lucid. I will say, this is about the most lucid I've seen Biden in about 2 months. He's done all these interviews and things, and he's just been terrible. He's made gaffe after gaffe. This was the least gaffy I've seen him in a while, which again leads me to believe that they drugged him up pretty good so he could be up enough so he could be on enough. But maybe the concoction of drugs, well, we can't keep feeding him in this or he'll just drop dead, would be my guess. So yeah, I would give it to Trump by sheer sort of dominating the room. He was fighting with Chris Wallace, but he kind of expected that. Chris Wallace, he fell into that trap and fought with Trump too. Trump successfully pulled Biden down to his level because Biden finally got mad and called him a clown, told him to shut up. And really, it came off to me as, is that the best you got? Really, you're gonna call him a clown like one time? If you're gonna employ that strategy, you have to employ it like Trump. You have to go all in and just, you got to be like a buzzsaw in the face. You just got to be like, F you, MFer. I'm gonna talk. No, I'm gonna talk. No, you shut up. Like, you have to talk over him. Trump is just better at that, and people have accused me of doing that in political arguments. So I mean, I get it. You're kind of like steamrolling people, so they just get overblown by your energy. Yeah, see, Joan agrees. So I would give it to Trump, but again, this is the first act. So I think Trump didn't want to lose, although that would have been ideal for him. Like, if he could be in a situation where he was assured that Biden would come to the next 2 debates, he would want to lose against him, because then people would rally and go, "Oh no, Trump is on the ropes. Trump, you got to come back in the next debate," and the ratings would go up because the ratings were in the toilet for this. But Trump won just barely, which is the sweet spot, because now, the people who support Biden are kind of asking him, well, maybe you shouldn't do another one. Maybe we shouldn't push our luck here. You got away with it. Trump kind of beat you, but just barely. So that's about the best you're going to do. So maybe you should bow out. No, Trump wants to lure him back in, because in the next debate, the stakes will be higher. Probably something will happen by then. We'll be coming out of the Kamala Pence debate, which happens October 7th. And, so Act 2, what happens in Act 2? Well, the stakes go higher and higher. So it gets more crazy in a movie. It's only in Act 3 that you want to finish him, so to speak, to deliver the coup de grace. So in the second one, you think the first one was crazy. The second one is probably going to be crazier if Trump has anything to say about it, and he does. I mean, he's basically running the show. You're just along for the ride. I think that the second one is going to be crazier. Now maybe Biden will come out swinging and Trump will let him fall down. A lot of people said Trump should let Biden just dig himself a hole and keep digging. But that's dangerous too, because Biden, if he gets a couple of lucid moments, he is a practiced politician. He could eviscerate Trump on a few topics simply by his knowledge, if it starts flowing to his brain in the right way. I think this was better. This was playing to Trump's strength, which is being an obnoxious a-hole. But that's who he is. So, I thought the whole debate was hilarious. I don't think it changed anyone's mind. I don't think anybody went into this debate going, Donald Trump and Joe Biden. I wonder who these two people are. Who are these people, Joe Biden and Donald Trump? I have to get to know them. No, we all know who Donald Trump. Come here, Joe. Come here, you ham. Okay, now you're here. We all know who Donald Trump and Joe Biden are, so there's no reason to say, oh, I got to tune in to figure out what I think of these two. No, pretty much everybody made up their minds well before this. The only thing, maybe some people wanted to hear some policy discussion, but even that's on websites. I mean, the debate was just a show. I think Biden supporters wanted to see if he could stand up to Trump for 90 minutes. I think people on the Trump side just wanted to see Trump stomp and stomp and stop Biden. I think they kind of got both what they're looking for. The only people who got shorted really was Trump called Biden out on his radical left stuff and basically got him to disavow it. And that was a victory for him because Biden is basically telling his radical left base, oh, I'm not doing that climate change like you wanted. Oh, I'm not doing universal health care. I'm doing something else. Oh, I'm not quite doing all that stuff. Slow down on the new Green Deal. That's not what I'm really into. I'm way more moderate. Well, the Bernie bros didn't want to hear any of that. In fact, they want to hear, the exact opposite. Oh, yeah. In fact, I think Biden would have done better had he been honest and said and embraced it confidently, like, well, hell yes, we want the new Green Deal. We want to save this planet. Like if he had done something like that, although I don't agree with the new Green Deal at all, I think it's crazy. Optically, it would have worked for him. People, I've talked to people about the new Green Deal, and Biden supporters don't even believe what's in it. They don't. It's so outrageous. They don't believe what's in it. And they don't believe that even if it was passed, that would happen. I assure you, it would. Because government loves nothing more than to regulate even more of your life. And that would be, it would be horrific. It would just completely implode our economy, grind it to a halt in an attempt to stop all the pollution, which, ironically, it would do because all the businesses would dry up. It would be like another 2 months of the beer virus, right? And the beer virus stuff, I thought Trump actually did okay on. They keep blaming him for 200,000 deaths. It's a bad move. It's a bad move because China ultimately is, responsible for spreading the virus, not Trump. So, whether 200,000 people died, even 500,000 people died, that's not Trump's fault. And then to say, well, he should have managed it better and then less people would have died, maybe? How are you going to prove that? You can't possibly prove that less people would have died under Biden, especially when Biden's part of the party who initially said, oh, you don't have to worry about this. He's just being a racist. Don't close down travel to China. Oh, don't wear a mask. That makes it worse. Don't wear a mask at all. Oh, wait, wear a mask. Shut down your business. Don't go outside. Oh, it doesn't matter that it's summertime. You see, the Democrats are going to catch all the flack for beer virus because they don't help. While the beer virus was starting, they were still impeaching Trump. They'd like to forget that, but, they're still talking about impeachment. They're just desperate. They just grab for something. Some issue they could win on. And Trump's not letting them. Trump's got him beat on just about every major issue. Foreign policy hardly came up. Trump's been nominated for a third Nobel Prize. That didn't even come up. I don't know how Trump failed to mention that. I would have loved to have seen Biden's reaction to that. But the big quote of the night, for me at least, is Biden saying, well, Antifa is an idea, not an organization. That quote is going to come back to haunt him. Because unless Antifa disappears tonight and we never see them again, they're going to do more rioting, more damage. And even if they do disappear, Trump has hours of footage of Antifa running amok. And you could already make the commercial yourself. You know, Antifa guys doing this, doing that, killing people, lighting fires, saying outrageous communist thing. And then the last quote, Antifa is an idea. Not an organization. And mark my words, the October surprise, at least for Trump, and part of it, is going to be Trump's FBI trotting these guys out, dozens of them, and saying, see, here are 10 guys who plotted to blow up the courthouse in Portland or whatever. Here, these 5 guys did this and that. Here's another Antifa cell. They're all going to come out with these charges. It's going to be a big show trial for the FBI so they could pump up their budget. It's a win-win for everybody still in government. Oh, and Biden, yeah, you've pretty much alienated the FBI too, because not only have you alienated law enforcement by saying abolish the police, basically, the FBI got to be worried that you're going to do the same thing to them. They're like the police. They're like the national police, more so than, say, the CIA or NSA or any of those groups. So I got to think that the FBI, although most of them were Obama hirees or whatever, a lot of them are like, oh, maybe this Trump guy's good for business. Oh, we're gonna be dragging these college students off to federal prison for years to come. I think we got to go with Trump. So I think they see where the bread is buttered, as they say. But that's it for the debate. Let's stop talking about the debate for now, because something crazy is going to happen anytime you look at the news, right, Joan?
Yeah, that's right.